Cool, cool, cool. I already love like the banter with you so far.
Good.
Okay, well, let me do my little official intro. Hey, y'all. Welcome back to another episode of Sex, Drugs, and Soul. I found today's guest at one of my favorite places in Austin, the Mothership. Absolutely love it. He killed that night. I thought like the room was just like up in roars and like laughing all over the place. And was one of my best friends, favorite comedian, Tony Casillas. Or
Hello.
Casillas.
How's it going? It's fine. Casillas, it's fine.
I was like, it's silent. Go back to my Spanish class.
People always mispronounce it. Like,
I know. I practiced though. Like
you practiced?
I did.
How long?
At least a couple of times.
You
or a couple of
shouldn't have.
days in
You
the car. I was
shouldn't.
like,
It always-
Casillas. But for sure. I'm like, I hate when people butcher mine. So I wanted to.
Yeah, but I got used to it. People have called me Casillas,
Okay,
you know,
yeah.
so if it's Casillas, I'm like, oh, okay, that's close enough.
Okay, well.
It's just the white version
It's
of
like
my name.
tortilla.
Yeah, that's
No.
see, and I still like tortillas, even if they're pronounced that way.
Me too. Oh man. So I want to just first off say, like, I think stand up takes like some of the biggest balls. Like to do it, like the bravery, the courage. Because when I think of like some of my deepest fears,
Yeah.
I think of like motherhood and stand up.
Okay, motherhood. Yeah, motherhood's pretty. I would say motherhood's harder because you have a life that you have to take care of, and if you screw it up, that might become like a school shooter or something. Whereas stand up, if we screw up, we're just like sad and we eat too much cheese fries after our sets. But
Is that after a bombing or is
yeah, after a bomb, it does suck. I wouldn't say bravery. I think it is tough, but it's like it's like a disease. We want people to love us. I think it stems from we didn't get enough love growing up. So we're like, what if these strangers like us? So I wouldn't say brave. I keep that with like soldiers, firefighters. We're just, we just want to be stars.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of vulnerability in it too.
That's
like
true.
even like talking about what you just mentioned, like the longing to be wanted, I think that's a commonality in a lot of folks, like the desire to be accepted, loved, and liked. And I mean, hell, I think laughter is an awesome aphrodisiac.
Yeah, it's fun.
And I think for me, looking on the outside looking in, I'm like, I had Hummingbird Heart like reciting a poem on like, at a open mic in that capacity. So like just I guess sometimes the pressure I would put on myself to maybe be funny or that sort of thing would be challenging.
The only reason I like combat it a little bit, is because I think right now stand-up's very cool, and so I see a lot of comics that were very like. We all think we're like modern philosophers, but I'm a clown boy, and I think most stand-ups were clown boys. We're just silly geese. And so I try not to put ourselves with too high regard. At the end of the day, we're doing it to fill a hole. Yes, we want you to laugh, but at the end of the day, we do it because selfish reasons, because it is fun and it makes me feel good.
Yeah.
So
I think that there's also, for me, I was like reflecting before you coming on, like getting all these questions, like me, my best friend, and ChatGPT. And so
that's a young woman's novel. Me, my best friend, and ChatGPT.
Yeah.
The next sisterhood of the traveling pants.
Yeah. No, I was just like, okay, so because it's so healing. Maybe you feel like that. Validation from us laughing, but also like I remember, right after my dad died, that a friend of mine was like, "What do you need? What do you want?" I was like, "Dude, I just want to fucking laugh again."
Yeah.
And we went to like some stand-up shows and that sort of thing. But I guess like since you
I said, it is nice when you hear stories like that, or because I've gotten that too, where people are like, I'm going through stuff and I really need it tonight. So I'm not saying I just bravery. I don't know.
No, I get your point too.
Because
like
just right now, it's been recent. It's been recent, and I think I've gone through that phase. Like, oh, I am pretty brave. But at the end of the day, I don't know. I think in human life, we all do it because we do certain things, selfish reason, because we want to get something out of it. I don't think there's a single stand-up comic that is doing it for the crowd. At the end of the day, we are almost selfishly doing it for ourselves, which is fine. That's why I think anybody does anything.
Yeah.
Is, because even, so
It's like the intentionality behind it.
But it is
like
hard. It is a hard and scary thing to do.
Yeah. And I like your take and perspective and pushback on it too. I'm like, give it to me. Yeah. Because I'm like, yeah, you're not on the front line, so I get that. So
yeah, it's like it's not going to be the end of the world if you know what I mean. Because I have friends that are like my best friend's a cop, and I'm like, if he has a bad day on the job, you know, he might be dead or his partner might be dead. Where if I have a bad day on the job, we're just laughing and getting made fun of in the green room. So it's like, I just look at it perspective wise. Like my life is pretty cozy.
And at least there, the people can't record you doing it. Like with the cops, if they're doing something, they could like be challenged with the phones
or get shot.
Then shot. Yeah,
I mean,
so many
been
different...
shot at on stage, which God bless.
Yeah, I'm like, no, I don't think I've ever been shot at. Maybe dated someone who did something similar. I know we were talking a little bit about some of our trials and before going in. So were you the class clown growing up? And
no, I was. So like I'm a dorky guy, but I was never like bullied or anything. I was never like, because I always moved around. I was a military brat, so I moved around. So I always had to like adapt to new situations. So in like high school, I grew up, middle school and high school, grew up in San Antonio, and Shirts to be specific. But I was never like, oh, I'm gonna make the whole class laugh. I made like the row I was sitting in laugh. And so it didn't matter who you were, if you were like a dork, a cheerleader, a football player, blah, blah, blah. If you're sitting next to me and the teacher says something dumb that I think is stupid, I'm going to throw a joke. I'm not going to disrupt the class, but I'm going to try to make the people around me laugh. So that was me. And
okay, cool.
I really like how it felt, so I kept doing it.
Yeah, and I was curious if you remembered like the first time that you like made others laugh and were like hooked then, or like wanted to pursue it, or like what was that moment that, okay, you're like, I'm gonna like pursue this and like take the unserious serious and like start on that journey.
So I always thought I was gonna. I love the arts. I thought I was gonna work more in film, like behind the scenes, maybe DP or like screenwriting, and then. Senior year of high school, I got caught smoking weed, and my dad's like a militant, like dictator army guy. So I got grounded for a whole year, couldn't go out, blah, blah, blah. Basically, my senior year is just wiped. And the only thing I could do were like school activities. So I joined theater my senior year. And I had, in the last play of the year, I had one scene and I had a line that just got a big laugh in the auditorium. And I remember feeling that for the first time, and I was like, I like that. And then after that, I got hooked.
Yeah.
Where I was like, oh, that's cool. Where it's like 400 people just boom.
Yeah, that's like a really cool effect.
And I was like, whoa, that's weird.
Yeah.
I want more of that. Yeah.
No, I get it, because I did when I play in junior high, and a little dabble in high school. And I remember, having like being the weird kid on the play. It was like Once Upon a Playground or something.
Yeah.
And I made a joke, and then I was like, oh my, it was the line in the play. Oh my God, like,
it feels good.
What is this?
It's better than an orgasm, honestly. That first, you're just like, what the fuck? There's this like, energy, there's this roar, and you're just like, you got to stay in it, and so I got hooked, and then after that, I tried stand up at the what was it, the talent show that year. I got second place. I got beat out by this boy. Small freshman kid, small white kid, and he sang like Aretha Franklin. Oh, wow. And he went on right before me, and I was like, yeah, I'm losing this. But I made fun of him. I made fun of whoever put me after him, got second place, and then went to a real comedy open mic, bombed, and then didn't do it for like 3 more years.
Oh.
That first bomb like really deterred me.
I was curious about that. And my friend had a question too.
Yeah.
She was like, have you ever bombed? And like, how did you handle that? Or did it inform your material in some way? So it sounds like it put it on pause for at least a little while.
Oh, yeah.
And what made you like decide to like go back at it?
I got senior year of college. It was 4 years later. And then I was in a relationship. It didn't work out. And I was like in this funk. You know what I mean? You're like, I think it's first love of your life situation. You're like, we're going to be together forever. And it didn't work out. And then my buddy Nick Fields, who's a very funny comic, he was like, hey, man, you always talk about doing comedy. I was doing like comedy writing from my college's late night show. He's like, come out to this open mic. And so we all drove out, and then I just got hooked again.
Cool.
And it didn't go well. It went fine. But I think I just realized, hey, that first bomb, I survived. And now anytime I bomb, yeah, it sucks when you're up there, but then afterwards you kind of have to just go, yeah, it happens, and then go on. Yeah. I've bombed in front of 1,400 people before.
Damn!
Yeah, it doesn't feel great, but then it's good, though, because once you do that, you realize, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, just at the end of the sweat day, off the back or it rolls off.
Yeah, you got to be like, okay, we got to fix whatever went wrong, but then tomorrow's a new day.
Mm-hmm.
So...
Yeah, I like that perspective a lot too, because that's one of the questions that I was like, what would you tell, like young Tony that bombed for the first time, or like someone else that bombed and was deterred, and it's like, okay, or maybe saddle back up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, no one cared. Like, I realized if you do really well, people will remember you. You know what I mean? Because that's how you reached out.
Yeah,
you saw me
for
before,
sure.
You reached out, I want to talk to this guy on my podcast. But like, if I would have bombed, you would have been like, that first guy wasn't that funny. But then the next day, you wouldn't remember the name. You don't really think about the person that doesn't do it. So once I realized that, I was like, oh, okay. So if it doesn't go well, it doesn't matter.
That's true.
Because no one's going to be like, oh, you're the guy that sucked that I saw 7 months ago. You remember the people you like. Because that's how I remember my favorite like actors or people I like.
Yeah, the people that moved me in some way.
Yeah.
That's a good point. It's like, yeah. I definitely, I was like, I got to slide into his DMs. Like, what's the worst that's going to happen? Like, he says, no, okay, cool. Like, like whatever. And I was like, I want to like get in. Yeah. My friend and I both were like, okay, we definitely want to watch your trajectory because we all just loved your comedy and how you came out and that energy. And it just was like, we were just like giggling, and I would like peek over at her to like watch her reaction too. Cause I know that, that's, she wants to go on a similar journey or is on a journey, but maybe on a little bit of a pause right now too.
Yeah.
But yeah, I never, if anything, if I see anyone bomb, I'm like, my heart's going out to you. Cause like as a creative, I'm like, oh man, I'm like that 5 minutes is probably feeling like a fucking hour.
Oh yeah.
Or if it's like, you're not getting the feedback or the jiving or, I'm curious, like, does some, jokes land with a certain crowd? And then if you're working the material, like, does it not land in other situations or?
Depends, man. Cause sometimes I'll do sets with my darkest or like jokes. I'll see like an older lady in the crowd. I'm like, she's gonna hate me, but this is the set I'm working on. But I'm so like, I'm feeling bad for her. I was like, she's there with her family. And then that old lady is the one that comes up to me and goes, you were so funny. And so it's like, I had to stop putting labels and like perspectives thinking, oh, these people might. What I'll do is, if a crowd is a little bit more like conservative, older, maybe religious, I'll maybe ease into certain subjects a little easier instead of just going boom, where I feel like some younger like crowds that like look like me, I can more just jump into subject. Where with older, maybe religious crowds, you kind of have to go, hey, I know this is crazy, but, and like kind of play around. But I think, I don't know. I think it's all about intent and vibes. If you give out a good vibe, I feel like most people will give you a chance. And if they don't give you a chance, honestly, that's not someone I want to be my fan. Yeah,
like it's like that. It's cliche, but it's like the vibe attracts the tribe, or the people that you want to be resonant or around you or follow your journey, or like why would you want someone that's like hating on you anyway? Or
I think I don't, because when I perform, I don't care who you voted for, who you're sleeping with, what I don't care anything about your personal life. I want you to just have an open mind and try to laugh at these subjects. And so if you're going in with, I want the comic to have this opinion, I don't want you to be my fan. Because I'm not going to talk about what you want. I'm going to talk how I feel.
Yeah.
And some topics will be more maybe right-leaning, but then I'll go left-leaning. I just try to chase the funny and not the
ideology or
I'm
like, I want to laugh at both.
Yeah.
And myself.
They're both stupid.
And,
Hey.
Wherever I fall, like if I can't laugh at myself, like come on. It's like I'm like I try not to take life so seriously, but sometimes I can get caught up in those moments. I'm like, just fucking laugh, be playful.
Yeah.
You mentioned labels. I think that's such a good point too. Or like not assigning a certain expectation or on people. And I had that same experience in a different creative manner. As like some people that I was like, oh, this person is is related to me and they're going to be my biggest cheerleader for my book.
Yeah.
Wrong.
Yeah.
And then someone that I was like scared to share it with for 6 to 9 months. And I was like, shared it over the moon, glowing, like, feedback. And I was like, okay, wow. So I really can't predict it or control it. So why even try or put my energy in that arena? Because then if I release that, then the energy can be like where I want it to be, like creating or something.
Yeah. And I think, like you said, it's some people might read your book and they're like, oh, my life is nowhere near this. But through certain stories, I know this isn't exactly like my story, but how she handled that situation is how I think I would handle it. So you can't
predict
put
it.
that judgment.
So true.
Yeah.
Ugh. But yeah, and like it was definitely like a skin shedding thing too. Do you ever have like those moments where you're like processing something through the comedy, like whether, I know you mentioned like heartbreak and stuff before, or grief. For me, it was alchemical. I think I was living like 2 different lives. And so my book was like an opportunity to be like, okay, here's all my shit.
Well, can I ask you, what were the 2 lives you were living?
I felt like I was leading a secret life with all the sugaring lifestyle stuff. And then, or any of like the bad girl type. Lots of religious conditioning, like me liking sex was like so taboo, and I was like, I was gonna go to hell or something, But I was like so turned on by the taboo, and then and like people that march to the beat of their own drum.
Yeah.
But I was like so much of a good girl in so many ways of life, like getting the good grades, doing the thing, earning the love and the acceptance and validation.
Did you go to church every Sunday?
For a while.
I mean, like growing up?
Growing up for a while, and then I asked, I had 2 different moments. Went to church for a long time, and then at one point we stopped going to church, and then I had a pretty paradigm-shifting moment with my stepdad, who's like, well, you likely only believe what you grew up around. He pulled up like this map of religion on the computer, and it was like color-coded.
Wow.
And I was like, whoa, because they were all like coded by like countries or regions. And I was like, if this is true for religion, like what else is it true for?
Oh, that's cool.
Everything.
That your stepdad did that?
Yeah. So it was like I had both. I had like the
That's how my
church.
Mom, yeah. My mom was kind of like your stepdad, and my dad was more like the church, went to mega churches growing up. And I get that kind of religious kind of fear. Kind of like, ooh, I like this. And but it's scary. No, honestly.
Yeah. And it colors so much of the worldview, like almost everything.
Yeah. Because with stand-up, it's like topics I'm talking about. I remember my grandma was just like upset because she's just like, how can you be, swearing on stage, or you're talking about like certain subjects and making light. And I was just like, yeah, I know it's not okay, but it's like it's getting reactions, so it is relating. And so my thing is always, I always hated that kind of growing up. That's why I'm more agnostic. I just don't like religion, just because I feel like religion sometimes holds people away from art, because they're like, oh, I really like, I remember a kid growing up that I went to church with loved horror movies. But then one time he just goes, I talked to the priest, we can't watch horror movies anymore. This is not good for us. We're getting our brains spoiled. I'm like, it's a goof. We know Freddy Krueger isn't real.
Yeah.
We just like how it makes us feel. It scares us. We like the over-the-top gore. And like, to me, he was like an aficionado on horror movies. And I was like, that could have been maybe the next good horror filmmaker.
Yeah.
And that religion kind of just took it out of him, saying, this is not good.
Yeah, not following through on that passion because of like the repercussions.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a good point as far as like religion hindering some like creative pursuits or expression in any sense or form, really. And I think that, I feel like we're here to create in some capacity.
Yeah.
Whether it's like baking a cake or writing jokes or movies or books, or all the things. Even business to me can be it's like super creative. It's so fascinating to me.
Yeah.
I had another question that I was going to piggyback off of that, but it was like poof, bloop. I'll just go back to I know you mentioned like your dad about the weed getting in trouble.
Yeah.
Do you dabble, like, does that help your creative process in today, like weed or psychedelics or any other, like, altered states or?
Yeah, I'll write sober. At a coffee shop, I'll get, like, the like 80% I'll do sober, and then I'll get really high, I'll take an edible, and that's when, like, the goofy comes in.
Okay, cool.
Where I'm like, "Okay, this is a little bit maybe, like, too serious, or this needs to get a little sillier," and then I'll take an edible, and then I'll just get a little silly with it.
Yeah.
And then the extra 20% comes with weed.
No, yeah, I was curious because I'm like I had such a healing experience with mushrooms that I'm like, and they totally helped me. Like if it's a little microdose, they'll help me like with presence and creativity and flow and all that. So I'm like, advocate.
I love shrooms, but like shrooms, that's more just, I gotta just be laying somewhere, just more like processing, which maybe helps in the future if I process myself. But yeah, I don't really, when it comes to shrooms, I'm not very creative with it. I kind of stick with weed.
Yeah.
Yeah, because shrooms can be you're going on a journey, and I'm like, I don't know if.
I'm like, sometimes I feel that way with weed.
Yeah.
I'm like, back in the day, it was like shit weed, right? Or for me,
yeah.
I just turned 37. And so, I mean, like the seeds, that's all we had.
Oh, yeah, $20 grams. Yeah, I know.
And so today's weed sometimes can, like, if I take one puff too many, which I never really know what the line is, I'll be in that corner over there, like anxious. And I'm like, I have enough anxiety. I do not want to be over there.
When did you start smoking weed?
Oh, my God. Like probably in high school, junior high school, something like that.
So, question, because I'm from kind of like a smaller Texas town. The drug dealer, typical, wore the flat brim hat, had a nice car, too nice for the age, obviously the town's drug dealer.
Probably. Yeah. I'm like, there is a couple of sources, but
I always think it's so funny because like right now they're trying to ban, I think in Texas.
Oh, yeah.
Like, so I think it's just so funny to me. I'm like, this idea that you're protecting the kids. Hey, man, you're not protecting shit. The kids are still going to go smoke weed, and it's going to be delivered to them by a guy with a gun who's 22, doesn't know how to use it. I remember in high school, the amount of sketchy situations we put ourselves in.
Oh my God, yeah. I asked people coming out outside of a liquor store.
Yeah.
Some random, I'm like, hey, you mind buying our booze for the passion party?
Yeah. Pretty please.
Pretty please?
Yeah.
But yeah, that's so true. It's like, and to me, like, with all of the fentanyl and stuff and other substances, and in some ways that has kept me from not doing cocaine for several years because of like I'm like, I don't want to dabble. And also I like more like hard expanding the substances versus
but also
that,
the idea of to me is funny. People are like, the only reason I don't do cocaine is because I don't want to die. A part of you, because I've dabbled with coke, the part of you're doing cocaine and you're like, hey, I might die. That's a part of cocaine. This idea that we live in this weird world now. It's like, I had to quit cocaine because it was getting too dangerous for me. Hey, buddy, you were doing cocaine.
That's so true.
Yeah, have you ever seen any like media, any song, movie where people are doing cocaine and it's like they're just doing a bump and they're just relaxing on the beach?
Or they had to be like brought back to life by like the EpiPen or something.
Exactly. It's always the EpiPen. You're doing coke. So this idea, it's like
it was always dangerous.
It's still dangerous.
It's just the stories that I tell myself now. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
So funny. But like back to I think they are like outlawing or forbidding or banning like the Delta, what is that, 8, 9, 8. And so people are still going to do it. And sometimes I think that if you make it taboo and where you can't do it, like I know for me that has lit a fire underneath my ass to do a lot of things. Or experiment or play. If it's taboo, I'm like,
Yeah, it just makes me laugh because the same people that are trying to ban like Delta 8 and Delta 9 are the same people that are just like, the drug cartels are ruining our society, and I'm like, you're giving them more business.
That's true.
That's all you're doing. And it's like, my thing is, I think it's, I don't know if you felt like this, like growing up like Texas religious. I'm just putting Texas just because that's the experience, but same with like, because I lived in Germany for a bit. My mom's German, and like when it comes to like like sex or sex education, dude, it's so much more open over there. Where at a young age, they teach you like, hey, it's not like they're like, hey, go fuck everyone and everything you can. They're like, hey, if you find yourself in that situation, wear a condom, be clean, check in on them. If they get pregnant, these are the steps. If you want to keep it, if you don't. Where here, it's just like, don't have sex. Don't even think about having sex. Don't even da-da-da. Even though chemically, we're getting to that age where you're like, oh, I'm attracted to that. Da-da-da, And then when you get to that point, you're just lost.
So true.
Dude, I remember growing up, I lost my virginity freshman year of college, and first time I had sex was without a condom, and then afterwards you're just scared. You're just like, oh, I didn't know you should probably just have these around.
Yeah.
And now, and then we had to go to because she missed her period, and I was like,
God.
First time I'm having a baby? What the fuck? I'm not ready for this.
Did she get pregnant the first time?
No.
But a scare.
Just like
enough to make you clench your butthole a little bit.
Yeah, I was like, I'm fucked.
Yeah,
I'm like, you just
the trajectory of your life. And either way, like nobody, I feel like really willingly wants to go get an abortion.
Yeah,
like I'll speak from experience. I've had one. I'm like, it's not the most pleasant situation. Like, I'm not like, yeah, no, but it's like
all aboard the abortion train. Yeah, it's not. Yeah.
Did I want to bring a child into this world under these circumstances? And I was like, shit, I had enough trauma when my parents willingly wanted to like birth me. Yeah, and we saw how that went.
That's funny.
So I kind of want to do this in a different aspect if I decide I want to have kids. And I think that sex definitely needs to be chatted or talked about more.
I think anything.
Such a good point. Like my neighbor is French, and he was telling me about him growing up and how much shame and like religious stigma that is baked into like Texas or the U.S. a lot. He said more of like the U.S. in general, and like how they talk about things more, and prepare versus like I feel like if you at least give people the tools that they need when they get in that situation, then maybe they'll be able to talk about it. Maybe they'll be able to make more of a responsible decision, or choose at least consciously to not be responsible, versus just the opposite.
And it's just like I don't know. You're just. Because people are going to find, because it's the same thing with kind of like, oh, sex is taboo. Then they'll probably go into porn more. And then, so now those kids are just watching porn, which that's not healthy, Yeah. You're just watching that. And then they finally do meet someone. And now they're trying to recreate what these porn. And so it's all, my thing is like this whole, we're just going to take. It's like, dude, who the fuck are you? I don't, who are you to tell me what to do? To me, it's just always so funny.
Yeah, that's interesting too that you mentioned porn and like placing. I'm so glad that I grew up when I did because it was like I still a little bit living in the imagination, not so much tablet or so much access to social media or porn or any of that stuff. Like my self-image was already fucked with like comparing myself to people on magazines or, like the idealized version of like who a woman needs to be or how she needs to look or weigh or all those things. So I could only imagine like being in that hormonal and delicate time at like those 12, 13 today, and then only learning about sex through porn and like placing those expectations on like myself and then my partner or the dynamic, and then wondering why shit doesn't work out. Same.
You're just like, do I choke her? I just met this woman. Do I just? But also, I don't want to. It's just a weird. And then the thing is, I think because the lack of communication growing up. When you do get with a partner, there's no communication. It's just, if you just have that instant communication, if you meet someone and you just go, hey, this is what I like, this is what you like, dude, it beats, it helps so much. But even when we're adults, we still have sex, but we still don't communicate about it because we were never taught how to talk about it, which is to me so crazy.
I'm totally like, let's communicate it a little bit more. Like, I've gone to, like, I'm in different tantra circles where, like, they push for that, but I definitely wasn't given that tool belt, like, right out of the gate. And, like, those first few conversations, like, this feels so fucking awkward. But then once I talk about, like, okay, different boundaries or different things or turn-ons, or then I'm out of my head and I'm more in my body. I'm enjoying the overall experience because we're talking about whether we want to use protection or if I'm on birth control or not, or, you know, all those different, like, parameters. Like if I want to be choked or not. And then there's a lot more freedom and playfulness and exploration that can happen. Versus like, am I doing?
Oh, you're just nervous. Now you're just nervous. You're like, oh, is she having a good time? Also, is this like, is she gonna think I'm a weird? You know, it's like I think that's with everything in life. It's just talk.
Yeah, or that anxiety, or like, oh, am I the weird one if I like this or express this? And like, I know that I was chatting with someone for a different podcast, and a lot of the questions that he had were pertaining in some form or fashion about, am I normal if I am into this, or am I? And then I was chatting and joking with a girlfriend of mine. I was like, I think our religious upbringing made us a lot more kinky. Because, you know, because and all those confines and that sort of stuff. Like, okay, this might be the reason, the source. So what you were trying to prevent, you actually instigated. You know?
That's it. That's honestly, I think that's why I did like hard drugs and stuff, is because, you know, I was kind of like a dorky guy. You know, my dad's like, you don't smoke, you don't drink. So then when I was on my own and someone's like, hey, do you want to do some coke? Sure. Why not?
Yeah. I know for me, I idolized like Hunter S. Thompson and like different artists and creatives, and that I'm like, oh man, they're experimenting, and I'm like, maybe this is a way to get inspiration or battle going.
Yeah, I mean, the way he ended his life isn't the best.
That's definitely not what I would know.
Yeah.
But I definitely was like, oh, I'm, you know, put different pedestals on things and experiences, and I liked edge and I never liked people telling me what to do, so I was like, okay, I want to be a little bit of a rebel, and like, how do I find my path through that and that sort of thing.
I think that's what drew me to stand-up too, is because that's kind of, you know, because I really didn't get to speak my mind as a kid. You just sat there, you listened. And if I ever spoke but what about this? Shut up. It was like very like, don't question God. Are you crazy? So I like stand-up is because you can question whatever you want. You can question whatever you want. You can say whatever. You can go down rabbit holes. You can, and so that's, I think, what very like inspired me watching comics at a young age, like Chris Rock and, you know, Dave Chappelle was great growing up, and even the silly guys, even like Brian Regan, who doesn't talk anything political or taboo, but if you watch his stand-up, he's questioning everything in society, and why do we do this? This is stupid that we do this. And even if it's a silly matter, or it might not have a social, what's the word, like a social impact, you're still like, why do we do it like that? So that's, I think, what kind of was like, oh, I like that art form.
Yeah, like inciting curiosity in people to like look at things. Oh, I love it. I mean, if I like looking at life through a curious lens versus like judgmental, I think is so key for me. Are there any, you mentioned rabbit holes. I'm like, what are the rabbit holes right now that you're kind of like diving into and going in?
I think kind of like what we're talking, just this idea of, I watched this city or in the Texas state capitol, they were talking about putting the 10 Commandments in schools, and one of the legislators asked, he goes, would you be willing to have to get it signed off by all the parents before we put in the classroom? And she goes, no. And then I looked back at some research, and she's the same thing, going like, you know, when it comes to like gay or trans issues, was just like, we got to tell the parents, it's the parents' rights. So to me, it's always just interesting when they want the parents involved. Because at the end of the day, like, I think I'm kind of working on this idea of, we care about kids. We don't. you don't care about kids. You know what I mean? Because you'll see a kid at the grocery store acting a fool. You're not like, oh, what's wrong with that kid? Why is he acting out? You're like, I hope that kid gets hit by a car and shuts the fuck up. I have a headache right now. No, but that's your inner monologue. You see a kid crying on a plane. We're not, oh, no, what's wrong with them? You're just like, fuck, I spent $400. I have a long day ahead of me. Fuck this kid. At the end, it's like this whole idea of we use kids as this, oh, we got to protect the kid. We don't care about strangers' kids.
And it's like, sounds like she was only using it when it served her, or her mission or platform or whatever, or her cause that she's like advocating for or lobbying for. I don't know who she is.
But I use kids. We use soldiers. It's like I'm trying to find these rabbit holes of using of kind of just different ways in a society we use certain groups when it's convenient. So that's been a fun. Like those moments, it kind of makes me cringe a little. Like, I've definitely been guilty though of being like, God, I was hoping to like work or sleep on the plane, and I know she feels fucking bad that the kid is like the one that is crying. Like, nobody I think wants to sign up for like being the one carrying the crying kid. But which I think is normal. I think that's, again, it goes back to we're all inherently selfish as humans, and we got to work on that. But this idea of I'm only going to be selfish when it applies to my belief or thought, that's when I have the problem.
That's interesting. A friend of mine said something one time that framed something in a new light for me that I was like, oh, I've never looked at it like that. And he had said something, he's like, well, we're taught to manipulate from the crib. And like, we cry, we get a bottle, we get fed. So it kind of goes on par with like if we're selfish and serving our needs in some capacity, whether consciously or subconsciously. I mean, it kind of fits. I was like, oh, wow, I never looked at like that. If I do this or do that, then I'll achieve what it is I'm setting out for, even if I'm not clear on that intention myself always. So it's interesting. I know, and you mentioned like different like comedic inspirations. I remember like one time that someone incited some curiosity in me too was I think it was Brian Callen, and he had said or something about being vulnerable. And it's like, sometimes he's like, we talk about being vulnerable in certain times and places. He's like, but really, we're vulnerable all the fucking time.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I could be like, I mean, really, you never know. Maybe all those drinking and drugging days catch up to me.
Oh, yeah.
How are you doing in your aorta? I saw this old funny man one time who said something. He was like, you hear that? Titanium or aorta.
That's right.
I was like, but yeah, it's like so interesting to me. So, like, is that... I guess that's like what's the biggest thing that's lighting you up right now, or like those rabbit holes, or
lighting up for the voice,
the kids,
not just kids, but also like I don't know. I see a lot of comics now. They like trans stuff is huge right now, and it's very like negative towards trans. And my thing is, I've known personally maybe 2 or 3 trans people. I went to a very liberal arts school, and they've all been like pretty great humans. And so my thing is like, yeah, you're basing your trans knowledge off of a crazy guy on TikTok or a crazy person on TikTok that's saying wild stuff to get clicks. That's not everybody. That's like, I don't know. So I'm trying to just, I think the best stand-up is, I'm not saying you can't punch down. I think you should, I punch down, you should make fun of people, blah, blah, blah. But also, like, just to attack a certain group for, like, political it's just...
Especially because, if it's, like, a word right now that, okay, maybe this will get more clicks or views or that sort of thing. And I've known a few different trans people and, like, incredible people. Like, don't have any... And for me, I'm like, I don't care what you do or what you choose to do.
I remember once I was doing a gig in Oklahoma, and there was a trans comic there who was just an asshole. I was like, oh, you're an asshole. And she's like, oh, you're just saying that because I'm trans. I'm like, no. You're just being an asshole. So it's not like I'm not this kind of person that's like, oh... oh, I'll bow down to you. No, but like if you treat me well, I'm not gonna I don't care what you do.
Yeah.
What you wear, what you
Who
do you.
Like what you want to call yourself.
Who gives a fuck?
Yeah.
I just think it's so funny, this idea that it goes back to we're protecting the kids. But again, in high school, we don't teach kids, how to do their taxes, how to get a good job, how to da-da-da. When it comes to medical care, kids, if your parents don't have insurance, the kid's fucked. We're like in Mississippi, kids are like starving. They're cutting funding for food for kids. So kids are going to school hungry. I go, you don't give a fuck about the kids. You just don't like that group because they make you feel weird. And so you're using kids as the catalyst.
Yeah.
And we're protecting your kid, then feed that child.
Yeah.
My thing is, if all the kids were doing well and then that argument came up, maybe. Maybe. But we don't care about kids at all.
I know. And we do have the resources to put food in mouths.
We have Elon Musk, who's a billionaire, probably is going to be a trillionaire, talking about wasteful spending. Buddy, then put your money where your mouth is.
Yeah, and put some food in other people's mouths.
Yeah. That's my thing, is just this whole idea of, especially being, I think, early 30s, I'm 30, I'm on the cusp of millennial and Gen Z, is we got called lazy, entitled, da-da-da. And I just go, I don't think it's entitled to be like, hey, when I'm sick, I should go see a doctor. Yeah, there are entitled kids. They're entitled. Oh, my dad only got me a Mercedes, but I wanted a BMW. You're a piece of shit. You're entitled. Yeah, but like the idea that, oh, if I work 40 hours a week, I want to be able to have like a night off, or if I'm sick, I can take a night off. You know what I mean? But a lot of people have to go to work sick because they're like, oh, if I miss this day at work, I'm not going to be able to pay rent this month. And so it's like,
and then that survival like state, like how well can you really thrive if you're always in that, if your basic needs aren't met or covered and thrived.
So that's kind of like what I'm trying to dig deeper in, is just finding this whole idea of, especially with the religion aspect, just because my grandma was very like that, where it's like putting judgment on people. But then when you do have the means to help people, you don't. And I just think, hey man, if heaven's real, I don't feel like you're going to be in it. If that's your mindset.
Yeah. Like let me keep all my coins. And, versus like giving. Yeah. I've loved like the witnessing and I have experienced it like the generous or like the givers in life, and I feel like they have like more reciprocity come back to them.
Yeah.
There's like an old 90s country song that's like talking about give and to receive, and I feel like I've experienced that in like little moments too. That's interesting. I'm like, I definitely had a grandparent condemn me to hell too, and I'm like, do you think that? I'm like, you're pointing, and it brings up for me like whether you're pointing at your fingers at one group of people or like a person or like all these actions, or like, oh, you're gonna go to hell. I'm like, it's that old, like, how many are pointing back at yourself? And like, you just have like an unwillingness to sit in the discomfort of like looking at your own, nuanced views, self, like good, bad, ugly, like that sort of thing, that you have to like have a scapegoat to. And so
it's because you have to have a scapegoat. You have to go, what they're doing is evil, what I'm doing is nice. At the end of the day, that's what it is. Trans people are weird and they're evil and they're trying to get to your kids. Me hoarding my knowledge, my wealth, my this, I'm actually good because I'm using it, a little bit of it, to fight against that. That's all they're doing, is they feel bad about themselves. Because it's just like, to me, I don't know, man. To me, it's like, and I'm not one of these people that are like, people shouldn't be able to get rich. If you made your money, good. Great. Good for you. But help out your community. Like this, Yeah,
because I definitely feel like, okay, I like the ability to earn or make a living, and like those sort of things. And like is there a point where giving too much inhibits the person's desire to earn something for themselves? So I see that, but then I also see like, feed the fucking kids.
Feed the kid. Or get the homeless off the street. But this whole it's to help. I don't know, help people out, whether it's with time, with money, it doesn't have to be money, but like your resource, share your resources. Like when I'll hear people, they'll be like, yeah, man, you got to take IVs. You got to ice baths and saunas. And bro, after an ice bath sauna combo, blah, 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 I feel so amazing. You got to do it, man. Go. You should go to this gym. And then you go try to sign up for the gym and it's like $450 a month.
Like on it?
Yeah. And then they're like, you got to do it, man. It's good for you. And then you realize most Americans have like $300 in their savings account. And it's like, where's the time? So, like, to me, it's always just funny. They like to call these people lazy and da-da-da. But also, you're not going to give them the chance to do what... You kind of like that it's a social club. You kind of like that it's an uppity, da-da. You don't want the Joe Schmo to be at your gym. You like that it's full of attractive, hot people with a nice car. You don't... It's, again, selfish.
Like a buffer to let in case anybody come in.
You want to be around your own.
Interesting. Is that like a tribal kind of mentality or something?
Always has been.
Interesting.
Life is always cavemen. We were tribal. Yeah. And it was white versus black, and then that stopped. Then it's men versus women, and it's now it's Republican versus Democrat.
Do you think that sometimes I know for me with politics, I'm like, okay, you have this choice or this choice, and you think you have two choices, and they're like, or if it's like pumped into the media, then you're not able, or you don't think about this third option over here that could be really great and amazing and help more people, but you just get so caught up in like the, not you, but like, people like, get caught up in like the going back and forth or the desire to be right, that it keeps people in like a fear state so that they can't access that, because I feel like if you give them two options, they think they have a choice when really,
because I'll get shit on, because I'll say I'm more progressive in life, but like there'll be like a Republican candidate I like, and I'll tell my friends, and they'll be like, you like that person? And then they'll like give me shit, and I'm like, yeah, but I like what he did here. He actually did some, but like you said, it's easier just to go, I'm team blue, you're team red. We're the good team, they're the bad team. It's easier. Because if it's nuance is hard. Nuance.
And everything I feel like has nuance.
And it's easier just to turn on one channel and you're like, whatever they're telling me, I will believe, versus going like, I'll check out what they're saying, what here, and then make an... Also, I think a lot of people don't have the time.
To do... Yeah, that's true. Yeah, they're trying to like...
A lot of people are...
survive.
Taking care of their kids, so they turn on the news, they're like, oh man, this is happening, he's Hitler, okay, crazy. And then they go on with their day.
Yeah, or a way to check out from like, okay, I just need to disconnect for a little bit. So I'm going to either scroll, or then your feed is so curated to what they think you may already believe anyway. Instead of, for me, it's like, okay, can we find like some of our common threads or humanness? Because I think about like a lot of times we want the same things. Like vaccines, for instance, it's like I feel like the core thing is like we want to be healthy. And we're making our decision whether we get it or not that we think will make us healthy. So it's like, can we find like little, points of commonality and to have like a more
like my thing on
conducive.
I got vaccines. I thought we were all gonna die. They're like, if you take this, you won't die. I go, sign me up. But also, I'm not the kind of guy that if you're like, I don't really want to take it, I'm not like shame. So, but again, everything we turn everything into teams and into I'm doing the righteous thing, and it's like, again, whether you took or didn't take the vaccine, it was out of a selfish reason.
Oh, yeah, like whether you wanted to die or live or not.
But even I'm not taking it because I want to live. Selfish. Everything we do in life is selfish. And we got to stop acting like we're holier than that. We're all selfish.
And messy fucking humans.
Why do you go to church? You're not doing it because you love... Yeah, you do love God and you love Jesus and what he did, but at the end of the day, you're doing it because you want to go to heaven. And that's selfish.
It's interesting to look at it through that mindset. Oh, and I also, there's like so many different points. I'm like, even like some of the all the self-care stuff, they're like, oh, is that too... I'm like, well, I want to take care of me so that I can like give and like have a full cup to whatever. But like...
No, but it's again, being selfish, it's a good thing.
It's got a bad rap.
No,
in some ways.
Yeah.
Like the term, selfish.
I think you be selfish towards yourself, and when you get to a point where you can then teach other people how to take care of them and be selfish.
Yeah.
But if you're just keeping all the selfishness to yourself.
Like gatekeeping it. Yeah. Instead of being like, hey, here's what worked for me. It might work for you. It might not.
Yeah.
Here, look, let me share this pathway. Yeah. Cool.
Like I think if saunas and ice bath and all that's healthy, put it everywhere. Make it accessible to everybody. But you're being selfish by preaching about it and saying, oh, it makes me feel so good, but you can't have it. That's what it's all. I
fucking hate ice baths, but I'm like, I get it.
Dude, I hate them. But the few times I've done it where I've been lucky enough to get invited to like one of those fancy, dude, I feel good.
Yeah. Like invigorated or charged. I just think sometimes I'm like, is it across the board or is it, good for a woman in a certain time in her cycle?
Yeah.
Is it, I'm like, there's some parts where I'm like, I want more warm and cozy right now.
Yeah.
But there's definitely like parts where I'm like, oh, now I feel like invigorated.
Yeah.
It reminds me, I just saw a video or a clip and then I did a little tiny research about how it's like I had no idea that like drugs and pharmaceuticals in general and like studies only were mandated to include women in it in 1993.
Really?
Yeah. So like so many of our medications, it's like it's really just research on how it affects a male body.
Wow.
So
yeah, because we used to just drill. Your woman was acting up. And now she'll cook and clean again.
Go cook me a sandwich. No.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, I told my grandma that because she's had some recent like health things and like my aunt, and I'm like, yeah, I'm like, I just found this out. Like, whoa, boom. So it's been even like some of that too. But yeah, I'm like, yeah, if you wanted to ice bath, do ice bath. I saw a hack on a TikTok. I don't know how, accurate it is, but sometimes I go in those TikTok holes.
Yeah.
Where it's like, get the small tub of ice and like put your face in there.
I do cold showers.
Yeah.
It's fun. It's not, it keeps you.
Is it?
I leave and I'm like, whoa, let's go. Yeah.
I think the after effect.
Yeah.
But like, I'm like in the.
Oh, it sucks. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm like.
But
I'm like, okay, I have a couple more questions, and okay, we have a few more minutes.
Let's do it.
Let's see, what do I want to ask? Oh, do you feel like you have to tote the line or be like socially conscious as far as like what you can and can't say, or some of that like alleviated, or do you get like kind of a hall pass on saying whatever? Okay,
I think, and this is pretty funny. I think there's a misconception, especially with the mothership right now. You'll see like comics in other cities being like, oh, it's the right-wing comedy club, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, there are some right-leaning comics in there, which is cool. I don't, like I said, I don't care what you do. If you find something funny, say it. And a lot of times I might not agree with someone's point, but I'm like, oh, that's a funny fucking joke. Where it's the cool thing, especially at the mothership, I like the mentality is just go up there and just be funny. So yeah,
cool.
Try and just be funny. So yeah, I try. Yeah, I just try to do that and try to come from a good place. And sometimes you might say something and it just comes off wrong, and you're like, okay, we have to rework that to make it.
Cool. Yeah, I've seen comedy or comedians that seem like they're kind of like sprinkled all throughout the red,
crazy.
Blue,
we get
purple.
called like a racist, like a comedy club, and I'm like, if you look at our lineups, there's some of the most diverse lineups without even trying to be diverse.
I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think it's just a lot of people, they see what like Joe believe, and it's like, yeah, at the end of the day, I've heard him say it, like he said it at the end of the day, he just wants funny people in that place. And yeah, and if you look at the lineups, that's all it is.
That's cool.
It's not, we're pretty diverse without even trying.
No, yeah. I mean, like even like that night, I'm like, yeah, there were several different like ethnicities, sexes.
Yeah.
So yeah,
which is I think the way to do it.
And like you get sprinkled like the all kinds of different humor in like one sitting. I'm like, it's like my favorite thing. I'm like, you free? Or like when I can find the tickets. So how long? Okay, so once you started up comedy again, or how long have you been at the mothership? Or like,
I've been at the mothership for 2 years now.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I'm a tour guy there.
Yeah,
and then I've been doing comedy 8 years total now.
Sweet. That's badass.
I know, it's a long time.
That's sweet. And like, what do they say? What, like the 10,000 hours?
10,000, yeah, headlining more and just trying to figure that out now.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's scary. It's fun. It's scary. It's
like all the things.
Oh, it's a journey. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so let me see what my. Okay. So my friend had a question. She's like, what's making you laugh the hardest right now? And it doesn't have to be a comedian.
The movie Friendship with Tim Robinson and Paul Rudd.
Oh, okay.
It's one of the funniest movies, I think, comedy movies that came out last like 10, 15 years.
Oh.
It's cringy, it's funny, it's silly, it's great. I tell people, go see it in a movie theater with strangers, you're gonna laugh your ass off.
Is it out now? I mean, like,
they did a limited release and it's about to get a wide release.
Oh, cool.
It's so funny. I think you would like it too, because there's bits with like doing hallucinogenics and
oh, good.
It's fun. It's very fun. It's a very fun, it's a fun movie.
Okay, sweet. So I'm like, I'm making a little note. Friendship.
Tim Robinson's making me laugh really hard right now.
Okay. And then let me see here. Answered that. Okay, this one was if your inner child had a Netflix special, what would it be called?
My inner child?
Or you now.
Okay.
I feel like
if I had a Netflix.
Mm-hmm.
So I think my first album or special, I want to be called Tony Casillas Forgettable. Because there was an experience. It was a few years ago. It was a Super Bowl party. And we ordered pizza. And the pizza delivery person comes to the door. She said, oh, here's your pizza. And then she goes, oh, you do comedy, right? And I go, oh, yeah. I was like, I'm feeling myself. I'm like, yeah. Yeah, dabble. Yeah, I'm pretty good. Yeah. I go, she's like, oh, I've seen you. And I was like, cool. And I go, oh, did you think I was funny? And she goes, honestly, I don't remember. And then she just laughed. And to me, I love that idea. Because as a performer, we think like, oh, I stuck with them, blah, blah, blah. So this idea of Tony forgettable, I just love that idea of like, hey, you might watch this and you might forget this the next day. But for this moment, let's just have fun.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay. Oh, I dig it.
Yeah.
Vision board. And then if you could roast a historical figure or celebrity, dead or alive, who would it be and why?
If I could roast a historical figure, dead or alive.
Or, yeah, anybody that comes to mind.
I think it was Osama bin Laden.
Oh, like I want to listen to that material.
Yeah, because he apparently had like Ice Age 2 on his computer. He had like weird anime like on his. I would want to pre 9/11 like time machine, like roast him a bit, maybe shoot down some of that confidence, maybe save the towers or something. Yeah,
yeah.
I'm like, go Osama bin Laden.
Okay, I'm like, what rabbit hole was that to discover? I didn't realize he had Ice Age 2 and all that.
Yeah, apparently he had the only movie he had on his laptop was Ice Age 2. So there was times after 9/11 where he's in a cave watching a squirrel try to get his nut. And to me, that's just so funny.
I've never seen that, but just the squirrel getting his nut is hilarious.
Also, not even having the whole trilogy, just the second one. That's a crazy.
That's the only movie.
Yeah.
Interesting.
To me, and that makes sense. A guy that could do such a heinous attack would only have one movie, and that movie would be Ice Age.
Okay, maybe I need to watch that and Friendship. I'm like, which one do I do first?
Do Friendship. Yeah. Because if you watch Ice Age 2, you might be the next Osama bin Laden. You might really relate to it, and you're like, things have to
the inner workings. Yeah, what is that going to like? Proceed with caution.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. So yeah, share anything that you've got like juicing up.
You can follow me at comedian Tony C. That's where I post all my dates. If you're in Las Vegas, I'm going to be headlining the Wise Guys Comedy Club June 21st and 22nd, and then I'll be in Milwaukee on June 14th with Trevor Wallace, and then the Chicago Theater on the 15th with Trevor Wallace. So that'll be cool.
So dope. Yeah. What would you tell like your younger self that ever had any doubts about like starting the journey or someone in a similar spot?
You did it.
Oh, I love it.
You did it.
You did it. And keep going.
Yeah.
Yeah. Beautiful. Thank you so much for accepting my DM.
Yeah, no worries. This is great.
I love chatting with you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Well,
I think that's it, guys.
Hey, be selfish and it's okay. But also help others.
Yes, feed the kids. I love a good snack. Let's get them some snacks too. Seriously.
That was great.